Hi, I am Alfonso, the chosen one muchacho, and today I'm going to talk you through making a custom channel strip within Ableton Live. So for those of you who don't know what a channel strip is, it's a set of useful tools such as EQ, compression, drive, etc. that sit on every channel in your mixer. Back in prehistoric times when all music was made on these crazy things called mixing desks, the desks would have these beautiful sweepable EQs with compression built into every channel, as well as controls for standard stuff like panning and drive, etc. So it seems natural that people would want to emulate this in the box. And why not? You almost certainly will be using EQ and compression on every channel. One of the main issues with having a channel strip across every channel is that it can absolutely murder your CPU. If you're getting into high track counts, having a CPU hungry channel strip loaded across every channel would cause you big problems. For this reason alone, I tend to avoid them and only use effects that I need on each channel. But what if you created your own using Live's own stock effects? The built-in EQ, compressors use practically no CPU anyway, so why not give it a go? It seems Ableton thought the same, and in the latest version of Live they've included a channel EQ, which I can't figure out why you'd use this over the standard EQ8, to be honest. And then they also included the drum bus, which takes care of the dynamics. I personally don't see the point in using these two, so I've gone ahead and created my own channel strip in an audio effect rack, comprising of the 8 controls I need and use the most. First of all, you'll want to drop an audio effect rack onto a track like so. Next, you'll drag in the EQ8. I honestly think EQ8 is a very underrated tool. It sounds great, and I probably use it more than any other tool, built-in or third-party. One thing that does make a difference is turning on oversampling. This really should be on by default. I guess Ableton are just trying to be economical with your CPU. So now I'm going to turn the adaptive EQ off. I do this because I'll be using the EQ more of a shaping tool rather than a surgical EQ, and as such I don't need a super narrow band. So here I'm going to set up my 4 bands. I'll want a high pass, a low pass and 2 bell EQs. The exact settings for these are down to you. I like having a bell set at around 100 to tame the low end and another set at around 3K to bring up or down the higher energy. So now let's map the macro knobs to our EQ controls. This is very straightforward. Our 2 filters will be assigned to control the cutoff and the bells will be assigned to the gain. I just need to remember which order to click everything. I'm having a little bit of a slow day. So let's take a listen to our settings to ensure we're happy with them. Sounding sick. So because I'm super organized, I'm going to label all of the controls. You should probably do this too. Okay, next up is my personal favorite. I'm going to map a macro that will bring up the volume of all the sounds panned to the side. I never think a track is wide enough, so I use this a lot. There's a couple of ways to do this normally, but with wanting to achieve this with only one knob, we need to get creative. So let's first create a new chain in our effect rack. In that chain, we're going to drop the utility tool in and set it to only let through the sides. Let's take a listen. Okay, so all we need to do now is map the volume of this chain to a knob like so. And let's label it 2. Annoyingly, the maximum setting takes us to about plus 6 dB, so we've got to go in and change that to a more sensible 0. Next up is compression, and I'm going to use the excellent glue compressor. So I personally like having the option of using really aggressive compression on sounds, but used in parallel. So I tend to use the wet dry knob to blend in a ridiculously fast attack with the dry signal. The settings you want as a default are entirely down to you, of course. So I only want to use one knob to dial in the compression. I'm going to assign the macro to both the threshold and makeup controls. This way, as I bring the volume down with the threshold, I'll be bringing it back up with the makeup gain. Immediately, you'll see we have to adjust some values in our mapping up in the top left to make sure we're getting the knobs moving in the correct way. So our track is coming in a little hot and it's triggering our compressor without adjusting the threshold, but not to worry, our next macro will help. Fairly simple one this time, I'm just going to assign it to the wet dry knob here. Beautiful. Let's name these controls. So last but not least is the Saturator. Live's inbuilt Saturator isn't the greatest in the world, but used sparingly it can help bring life to your sounds. Here, much in the same way that we did with the compression, we'll want to map both the drive and output knobs so that as we increase the drive, the output drops down to compensate. Again, we'll need to do some editing to make sure the controls behave in the way we want. I only like to push it to about 6 dB so I can keep it sounding pretty subtle. One thing you might be able to hear if you have bat ears like myself is that even when the drive is set to 0, the saturator still imparts a sound onto our track. One way around this is to map the device on button to our knob, so that when the knob is at 0, the device is off, but as soon as we start to move it, the device turns on. There we go, a thing of beauty. This is a really useful technique to use, so let's give our channel strip a spin. quite happy with that. It's giving enough shaping power in just those 8 knobs so you can massage the sound in almost any way you want. Let's save it so we can quickly drop it into tracks in the future, and let's give it a catchy name. So the beauty with this is you can easily customize it to fit your own most used settings, and as you evolve you can remove any effect that you like. You could create specific racks for treating bass, for example, that would have different settings to your rack for treating vocals. Let me know down in the comments what your most used effects are, and I will catch you down the road.